Hello, me lovelies. Well, there's been some exciting news. As some people know, I'm a campaigner for intersex awareness and what being intersex means and the problems with hate and bullying that intersex people can face. So that means that the vast majority of intersex people don't come out in public and announce that they were born intersex. Now, what I mean by intersex for people who don't know, and it is an awkward term people get confused with. Intersex is more or less a modern term for hermaphrodite. Most people will understand what hermaphrodite is. Lots of people, quite understandably, and it's not them being bigots, get confused over what intersex actually means. So I just thought I'd stress that at first. Now, I do campaign against this, and we do get vicious hate for the very fact of being intersex. Just go on to YouTube, type in the term intersex, and see how many times people are thumbed down for absolutely nothing other than they're intersex. They haven't done anything controversial or said anything controversial. Now, this happened recently on YouTube to me, where I got vicious bullying, cyberbullying, and what can only be described as stalking by an American podcaster who every week he was on, except when he was interviewing his special guest, was mentioning my name. Well, he was thinking he was being funny by calling me Uncle Terence and Andy and all this business, and was coming out with the most vile, disgusting hate speech towards me because I'm intersex. Not only was he doing that, people he didn't like James Esposito from Underground Films, he was accusing or suggesting he was gay as an insult. So clear hate speech going on, and this is a man who tried to accuse me of being racist, and some of his followers did. Well, yeah, he was the one who was coming out with the N-word, which it's still out there. If you want to check up, you'll still hear that recording, even though he edited it out of his podcast, and mocked Japanese people and other people. So he was the one coming out with the racism. Now, anyway, what I want to get onto is the success that's been had. For months, I was getting onto YouTube, other people were getting onto YouTube to complain about this podcaster and his channel, because his channel was very quickly becoming a meeting place for bigots, especially bigots against LGBTQI people. Now, we were ignored, and of course people who know this podcaster knows that Sean was one of his victims. Now, as I say, with Sean Atwood, the podcaster, yeah, he has done things that can be criticised. By all means, criticise him for what he's done. And also, there was this issue with the landlord of Cali and his partner coming on to this podcaster show saying what had actually happened when they rented a room to Cali, or an apartment. Fine, do that, but it's stretching it a bit when suddenly Cali Diamond's passport is included. And if Cali Diamond has got any sense, right, that is a serious breach of data protection, and she wants to get on and get legal advice against what that landlord did, because it was given to him. No matter what dispute you've got with people, right, no matter what dispute you got, you can't go throwing around documents that are protected by data protection. You can't do it, people. I mean, it's all right, she can turn around and say, oh, here's CCTV showing that this was done, that was done, and the room was trashed, whatever. Fine. She's trying to put the word out there that, you know, this person isn't the innocent that she claims to be. Fine, do that. But not putting out documents that are protected by data protection. And before anyone thinks, well, this podcast was American, carry on listening, because that isn't a cover for people like the landlord not being liable for prosecution for a data breach. Now, as I said, mentioned Sean Atwood had problems with this person who he went into overdrive, total overdrive, and it became a vendetta. We're going to bring him down. This person individual definitely has serious mental health issues, anger management, terrible anger management issues, can't hold his temper, and it was becoming a point where it couldn't continue, and it was getting alarming because YouTube were doing nothing about this. Anyway, I thought this is what I thought would happen, and I've had battles with people before. Look, I had a run-in with the podcast that calls themselves Vandermeer, isn't it? Something Vandermeer has done ones about me, but I thought, you know, just let it all lie down, let it go to sleep, and then when it's realised that we're not against each other, we're not going out for each other, it's not going to be a vendetta, it will just lie there and, you know, it will phase out. Also, with another podcaster, there was a little bit of a dispute the other day. That's not going to turn into a vendetta. It's like, yeah, I upset him, he didn't upset me, but I upset him. But he's intelligent enough to know to not let it go any further. You know, we're adults. In other words, adults. We can fall out with someone and it doesn't turn into a massive vendetta to try and destroy their life and bring them down. So anyway, what happened was, I was thinking about this and thought this has to be resolved. And I thought of my police experience and dealing with issues of hate and dealing with these issues of harassment and stalking. And I realised something. I thought, wait a minute. I thought, it's no good going to the police and asking them to look into this individual, because the individual themselves is living in America. They'll be under different legislation. Very little can be done. The same is true in reverse. If he wanted to get someone in England prosecuted, he'd find it a nightmare to get the police over there to do anything. It's different laws, different ways. But, and this is what I realised, even though he was based in America, his podcast was followed by, in vast numbers, well over 90% British subscribers, British bigoted anti-LGBTQI subscribers. So that meant that his podcast was aimed at British people. Also, YouTube were refusing to take down what was, and it was weekly and sometimes twice weekly, attacks on me and other people. Very personal attacks and hate speech against me. And YouTube would do nothing. Well, as I said, well, YouTube is the offender here. They're allowing this material to go out there, which is what he was saying, mate, no doubt about it, it was a criminal offence. No doubt about it, criminal offence, what he was doing. So I got onto the Merseyside Police and I thought, this is either they're going to say, no, get lost, because we've never done it this way before, or in my remote dreams I thought they might listen to me. So I explained to him, I said, look, he's catering to a British audience. YouTube are doing nothing. YouTube are responsible for that material being out there, and it's quickly become, and I read them out, some of the comments that people were making on his podcasts. You know, the Empress and the Welsh poster girl for the Nazi youth. She, all them, I pointed out, said, well, there we are, that's what's being said, they're all British people. And played a few sections from his podcast. And I think the thing that's swung it in my favour with the Merseyside Police was this: I am drinking your tears. I am enjoying drinking your tears. And I said, does that not sound like someone that's got potentially psychopathic tendencies? It was so creepy that I'm drinking your tears. So the Merseyside Police said, right, this is it. They looked at it. They looked at what I was saying. They looked at what he was saying. They looked at what the comments his followers were ringing in and saying, and also putting on his comment section. And they agreed with me. They'd actually crime YouTube as the offender. for allowing this to carry on. So YouTube were contacted and told that a criminal investigation was underway towards them for allowing this to happen, and that's what got the videos taken down. And that is a big win. That is a big advance forward, and I'm going to start up a campaign group and a support, well, not so much support group, just somewhere where people can talk about their experiences. Because of course something like this happens, there's many people out there that are going to coming across horrific bullying and horrific stalking online. So a meeting place where people can discuss it, because the next move is Parliament are actually discussing bringing in legislation to hold platforms like YouTube to account and other platforms that allow cyberbullying to go on and do nothing. Well, my suggestions are going to be made. So I'm getting a paper together. I'm getting in touch with all the police and crime commissioners, telling them about the wonderful success with Merseyside Police in doing this, because this stopped a nightmare. Because if Merseyside Police hadn't done that, this would have been a big, massive, protracted investigation. Oh, it would have taken all sorts. And by the way, the fact that Merseyside Police saw this person as an offender has been passed on to the Miami Police Department to see if they would like to try and take action and give reassurance to LGBTQI people in Miami that they will not allow one of their residents to effectively get together a bigger group against LGBTQI people and broadcast on YouTube. So that has gone there. Whether they do it or not is nothing, because we have no control over what they do in America. Anyway, that happened. And to put more clarification as well forward about the Sean Atwood issue, and that Sean Atwood was alleged to put forward false copyright strikes. I don't know enough about the copyright to know whether he was false in claiming that or not, but this big blowing the trumpet, oh, we won, I won, YouTube found in my favour and reversed the copyright strike. Not quite true, people. What happened was this person in America, this American podcaster, when he put his appeal in, he put false details in. He said he was called Jesus and he was from Utah. Now what that did, all that Sean got on the other side was, give us the details of the case you've launched, the legal case to bring this person to court for copyright issues, right? Breach of copyright. Well, all that Sean had was a false name and a false location. But that opened the doorway. Sean can go to YouTube and say, wait a minute, this person has given you false details. I can't open a legal case against them because of the false details. But you are allowing this person to put those videos up, breaching my copyright. So you have stolen my copyright. Again, do you know where I said that in the hate speech department, I successfully argued that YouTube were the offender by doing nothing about it? Well, Sean can say that YouTube are the offender in his copyright issue because they have got someone with false details, and it's up to them to ensure that the details are correct. Now this has led into another thing with the campaign that I'm going to start with a couple of other people to try and bring in changes so other people don't have to suffer this type of bullying and stalking, is that when someone signs up for YouTube, of course, people will need to be anonymous. We understand that. Everyone knows Andrew Guine is my real name, but my real name's out there. I don't hide it. Now, but people sign up like he does with anonymous details. Well, if someone, that's fine until someone complains of a breach and YouTube agree this breach has happened. Then what must happen is the rules should change in YouTube and other podcasts, that they turn around on the person and challenge them and say, you either confirm your details with us or else we're going to close down your channel. We're not even going to investigate it, we're going to close down your channel. Now, can they verify a person's details? Of course they can. If anyone is monitorized, the way you get monitorized is you have to give them a link to your bank account, and that verifies your identity. What that safeguards against people is that if someone is being cyberbullied and they have to go to the police, if they are suffering stalking and they have to go to the police then can go to YouTube and say, right, we want this person's identity because we are investigating them and we are thinking about arresting them over this matter and questioning them. That's what it does. In other words, you can keep your anonymity out there on YouTube, but the minute you do anything where it becomes a breach of the guidelines or becomes in effect a potential criminal action that you've carried out, then you have to give your details over, and that will safeguard the platform. And also there's issues of people using VPNs, and let me just tell you something, people, because I saw one interesting comment on this podcast of Scottish Friends video where it said, let's start up a VPN. Very nice, going on to be vindictive, confirming exactly what I was saying about this podcaster. Is he had a vindictive stalking, bullying podcast, and that's exactly what was confirmed by a line like that by one of his followers. The police know where you are, whether you've got a VPN or not, and this is what the public don't know. This is years now. I haven't worked for the police for years. How long will it be? 10 years? It will be coming up too soon. I can tell you now, back even when I was with them, they'd not only know what address someone was on the internet from, they'd know basically which room they were in. So don't think VPNs protect you. They don't. But anyway, I thought I'd update that, but people do jump on board. I'll be doing a website which will be going into this campaign to bring changes so that we all feel safe. No one's saying you don't have freedom of speech. No one's saying that you can't question people, question me, question Sean Atwood, question anyone. But what you don't do is launch a hate campaign and a stalking campaign. That's what you do not do. End of story. So I'll leave it at that, my lovelies, and speak to you soon. Bye bye for now.